through those?
Yes, the first one is to approve a reappointment of Brian Payne to the Mental Health Recovery Board. This will be a second term that will expire on June 30th of 2030.
So moved.
Second?
And yes?
The second item is brought back from last week, and that is the 90-day F12 beer and wine permit for the Warren County Fairgrounds. That was put on hold last week, and it is back up for consideration.
I believe we got a response from the Fair Board to some of your questions.
Yeah, we did get a response.
Well, they responded. I'll make a motion to approve that.
Second?
And yes?
The next item is accepting the withdrawal of the zoning application for restoration grants of approximately 9 acres in Union Township.
We acknowledge, or we have to
Accept the
vote on it?
withdrawal, accepting the withdrawal.
Do you have to accept the withdrawal? Okay, so moved.
Yes.
And yes?
The next one is for this Child Advocacy Center. They're seeking authorization to submit a grant application with VOCA, the Victims of Crime Act, and the grant request is for $83,000.
Wait, one more time?
The Child Advocacy Center is looking to submit a grant application with the VOCA, which is the Federal Victims of Crime Act. And this,
Oh, they're just telling us they're submitting.
yeah, they're actually, I guess. Yes.
We accept, yeah.
Do we have to do something with that?
Yeah, they have to seek permission to.
No, we need to give them permission.
Correct.
All right, so moved.
Yes.
And yes?
The engineer's office has a resolution, it's a cooperative agreement with Deerfield Township to allow the engineer's office to be a project manager on Columbia Road improvements. Some of those improvements are for isolated road widening, addition of curb and gutters, stormwater network sidewalks, and some water main replacements.
All right, I'll move for that too.
And yes?
And yes?
And the last one is that the sheriff's office is looking to a resolution to initiate contract negotiations with Airmark for jail food service. They put out that for bid on March 31st of this year. And the evaluation committee ranked the 3 proposals that were submitted, and Airmark was the highest score.
So are we accepting the Airmark? Is that what the motion's for?
We're motioning for a resolution for them to initiate contract negotiations, and once that contract is finalized, they'll be brought back forth.
Okay, I'll move for that.
And yes?
And yes? Okay, great. That moves us into our public hearing number 2 to consider increasing the county sales and use tax by 1/2 cent. Is there anybody here who wishes to speak as a proponent? Seeing none, is there anybody who wishes to speak as an opponent? We had a really good discussion last week. There are lots of people here, and just for the public's notice, our intention will be, after our discussion, to continue the hearing until this evening at 5:30, so that people who may be working who wish to weigh in on this will have a chance to do so. I want to thank the county auditor, Matt Nolan, for being here last week. I thought it was a really great conversation. Tom, you probably listened to the hearing already. Given that hearing, is there anything that you'd like to add?
Well, if you all showed up just to hear a little bit about it or talk about it for a second, on the sales tax, this is not a Warren County's raising sales tax just to raise sales tax to spend money. The only reason we're doing this, it's in conjunction with a property tax elimination. So net, what we're talking about is an actual tax reduction to our residents. That's the only reason we're doing this. And the real numbers are the average home in Warren County, I believe the auditor said, is $300,000. Remember, out of your entire property tax bill, about 75 or 80% of that, it goes to the schools. We have nothing to do with it. Those are the voters of that school district approved levies, and whatever it is, and that's democratically voted on by the voters of that school district. So our portion of your total tax bill is actually fairly small. It's only about 5%. So on that $300,000 house, the county actually collects, I believe the auditor said, $470. So that's all we're talking at. You know, if you've got a $4,000 or $5,000 property tax bill, the county's portion is only 470 bucks. What we're doing is eliminating that for next year. At the same time, we're looking to raise the sales tax by 1/2%, which puts us in a very similar position as other surrounding counties. But what does that do? For every $10,000 a family spends inside of Warren County on something that's subject to a sales tax, you know, food, mortgages, those aren't subject to sales taxes, and anything you spend outside of Warren County is not subject to this. So if you spend $10,000 inside of Warren County, that raises your tax bill by $50. So for the average family, what we're trying to do is we're saving you $470, we're costing you $50, that's a $420 tax reduction. So that's what we're trying to do. This is not in a vacuum of, oh, let's just go raise sales taxes and find a new revenue stream and let's go spend the money. That's not the way we operate. This is actually for the benefit of our residents, because we've also learned that 50 to 60% of that sales tax is actually paid for by people that do not live in this county. So we're blessed that tourism's our #1 industry, so all of these people come in from surrounding areas, spend their money at Kings Island or the tennis tournament or antiquing in Springboro or Lebanon or whatever they're doing, and that benefits all of us that are actually residents. So that's who we're trying to take care of, are the residents of Warren County, if that helps clear anything up.
What is the actual millage amount that we would be reducing by? So what's the millage number?
It's less than 3 mils.
It's 2 point something.
Yeah. Yeah.
2.57. So for $100,000 property tax on 1 mil is $105. So that's the basic number. It's $105 for 1 mil. If it's 2 mils, or it's almost 3 mils, is that right? So that would be like $300. I mean, it's less than this for $100,000 evaluation. So I'm not sure how we're calculated to 300.
That came from the
Is that came
auditor.
from the numbers? Okay, I just didn't know.
It was probably an average of the property tax bill, but.
Yeah, okay, I mean, the way our auditor's job basically is to appraise all the real estate in the county and to determine a market value. And then the way this works with property taxes, 35% of that amount is taxable. And you are charged on a millage, and the mill refers to 1,000 in Latin. And so it's $1 per every $1,000 evaluation is what you pay your tax on, that 35% for 1 mil. So as Commissioner Young said, the vast majority of real estate tax is you pay to the schools. It's 75% of schools. So we're a very small part of this. But we're having another meeting tonight so that people that are, working can come and comment about it, because this is a significant issue, and I'm going to reserve any other further comments until then.
Great. Adam, do you have any?
Well, we've got one.
Can I ask a question?
Sure, can you please come up and state your name and address for the record, please? Welcome.
Thank you. Dan Goebel, I live at 1879 Red Sage Court. And so you made a statement that you're going to reduce the property tax for this year and raise the sales tax. So the words "this year" stuck in my head. So does that mean it's a temporary property tax?
But both things are temporary. Both of them are for 1 year, and we're basically experimenting to see how it looks.
Okay, so it's not gonna be at the end of that year, we're gonna keep the sales tax the way it is and property tax is going back up to where it was?
Good question. No, the two are tied.
Okay,
Yeah, and the other thing.
and excuse me, but is that the way, whatever you're gonna vote on, the resolution is
That's
that they're tied
exactly-
together, that one can't expire while the other one stays in place?
That's correct.
Okay,
Yes.
so they're either both in or they're both out?
That's correct. So we previously have done a property tax holiday. So 4 years ago, we did a property tax holiday, so you did not pay your portion to the county in your property tax. So we are doing that again, but we can't continue it every year because we don't have enough reserve to do it. So what this is allowing us to do is to see if over time we can reduce the reliance on property taxes with a small sales tax increase. But it's 1 year, both things happen at the same time. So we'll start collecting start activating the sales tax in October, because collections will happen in the beginning of the year, and it'll be then next year's property tax piece, so those two payments next year.
Okay.
So our intention is not to do one and not the other. Our intention is not to put a permanent sales tax increase in, but every year we have to come before and pass a resolution around how much property tax we're going to collect. So we have to do that every year. So this is sort of satisfying that requirement in saying we're not going to collect our portion of it this year, and at the same time we're going to collect a half-cent sales tax, and it's all for 1 year.
Right, okay. I wasn't here 4 years ago, we just moved into the community 2.5 years ago, so,
Well, welcome.
thank you.
We appreciate you being here.
What is the total amount, what's our estimation of the total amount of reduction in our income by giving this property tax?
About 4 to 5 million?
Yeah, so we would still then be absorbing a $4 to $5 million budgetary.
And what's our current reserve amount, or what's our, do we have that number?
Well, it's,
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
go ahead, Martin.
So at the end of May, obviously, we have not closed out June yet. We have a current cash balance of all cash of 98 million, which is around where that 100, roughly that 100% of carryover or budget that Matt Nolan talked about last week. Of that, 13.5 million is in the stabilization fund. 10 million is in the economic development fund. We have money set aside for facilities and other projects that are out there that we're putting aside for future facilities plans if the board agrees to. So what I would call is sort of liquid is roughly 56 million.
Which is roughly 6 months of operations, correct?
Correct.
But that's without us collecting anything over 6 months, because we collect, our basic revenue comes from sales tax and from property tax, is that right?
Correct. I mean, this is current where all the taxes that we have are, the sales tax we have now coming in at the rate is coming in monthly. Obviously, we get that 3 months in the arrears. The property tax, the first collection has been brought forward. We'll still collect the second one, because remember, we bring, the taxes that we bring in for 2026 are actually the taxes for 2025. And so if you're looking at doing a holiday for 26, it'll be those taxes paid in 27.
Right, okay, thank you so much, I'll comment more about it tomorrow, thank you.
Yeah, and if you don't, if you don't have a long history here, this, and a lot of politicians, I guess, say that we're this, we're that. We've got a 20-year track record of being literally like the most fiscally conservative people you ever want to meet. We've got public records of turning down federal dollars because federal government's broke with $39 trillion in debt. People are upset about property taxes, and rightfully so. And I'll give a lot of credit to our county auditor, Matt Nolan, who is head of that auditor association. That's never going to happen again, this ginormous increase based on your reevaluation where the property taxes go through the roof. It's now limited to what, inflation? It can't exceed
That's right.
whatever the rate of inflation is. That's a new state law. And again, that's coming from the state to us. That's not our decision. We have to play by their rules. So that's never gonna happen again, and I give our county auditor a lot of credit on that. So we are incredibly fiscally conservative here. We are not a tax and spend county. If you don't know, take a guess what our total debt is.
I would guess 0.
Bingo, 0 debt here. We pay cash for things. And the other thing, again, not opinions, but facts, our auditor did a calculation of, since we're talking about property taxes, I always like to point this out because I was actually shocked at this one. He did a surrounding, like 15 different counties in Ohio, property tax total burden on taxpayers, and this is actually a great document. I'll start with the highest county that I found on his list. Lucas County, the total millage that they charge for property taxes, and again, it gets kind of complicated how it actually works, but I just want to give like a point of reference of comparing how's Warren County versus, our peers. Lucas County, keep this number in mind, 28.94. Cuyahoga County, home of Cleveland, 26.53. Our friends to the south in Hamilton County, 25.76. Our friends to the north, Montgomery County, Dayton, 24.14. Franklin, City of Columbus, 20.37. Let's get it more suburban. Let's go over to our immediate peers. Butler County, our friends to the west, 12.13. A heck of a lot. I mean, it's half of what these urbanized counties are. So Butler County is doing a really good job. It's not 24 or 26 or whatever. Butler County is 12. Our friends to the east, Claremont County, 10.7. Really, really good. I mean, it's almost a third of what some of these other counties are. Warren counties, 8.78. So we're already the lowest property tax county pretty much in the state of anybody that's got any population. So hopefully I'm just trying to set expectations of where are we, and everybody's upset about property taxes, but where are we versus everybody else? And again, what we're trying to do is give a tax reduction, increase sales tax a little bit, because 60% of it's going to be paid by people that don't live here, and literally eliminate the portion of the property tax that we collect that we have any control over. That's all we're doing.
Yes, please, thank you.
Sorry, thanks for that explanation. I did live in Florida for a little while, and Florida is a no property tax state, and so I understand they tax the heck out of the tourists that come down there for everything there is in Florida to visit and see, which probably most of us in this room have been there before. And so I definitely understand that. I appreciate the numbers you just provided. As a former accountant as well, I'm amenable to people who dig into budget issues. So, thank you.
But yeah, because I mean, we were very deliberate in like some of the news stories. Oh, Warren County's raising sales tax. Oh, of course they are. Every government.
Yes.
No, they're not. And if you're an accountant, you like this since you're new to the county. Take a guess how much our inflationary pressures, which affect everyone. We have employees. We face inflationary pressures. Not 4 or 5 years ago. Take a guess how much our budget increased this year.
I'm going to get a 0.
Wrong. Minus 0.26. We
Yeah.
cut our budget.
Yeah.
So that's just trying to set the table of who you're dealing with on this board.
Right. So you could implement a Doge-like, process for the county as well, probably. And that's probably, we could say that about every governmental unit, I think, in existence.
Theoretically, yes, but we would like to think we've been doing that for 20 years.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome.
And I point to, since I've been here for a while, 2008 and 9, when the financial crisis hit, pretty much every tax and spend liberal government became very conservative because it hit the fan
Yeah.
and they didn't have any money. So what'd they do? They laid off all the fat. They cut fat like crazy. Take a guess how many people we laid off in Warren County?
I'm going to get 0.
0.
Yeah.
We didn't have the fat to cut,
Yeah.
and we were fine.
Yeah. Well, as a short-term resident, I appreciate, we love it. having lived here for the last 2 years, my 2+ years. My wife tells people that we retired to the Mecca of Ohio, and never having lived here before. And so, like I said, we love the community, and just look forward to continuing to prosper here. Thanks.
We love that you're here. I will also note that the legislature, in addition to capping the increase in property taxes to the rate of inflation that Commissioner Young talked about, they also doubled the homestead exemption for this year. So, which is why, and I'm mentioning this so people know, and those who are watching, why they're getting a delay in receiving their tax bill, because the legislature enacted this just recently, and so it's taking the county treasurer, not just in Warren County, around the state, having to do all of the back office work to recalculate and set up the system properly. So you will be seeing that doubling of the homestead exemption in your next tax bill. So your taxes will likely go down for this next half. Anyone? I'm sorry.
Since the taxes are paid in arrears, how does that work with that?
Well, I think
So we're paying, we're paying the last, so right now, the next tax bill we pay is for the last 6 months of last year.
that's right.
So they retroactively apply
They
this?
must have, because they, it's temporary, but they've.
Because it's on this current
But
bill.
it's
That's
on
why-
this current
That's
bill.
why we delayed our tax bill.
That's
going out.
exactly right, that's exactly right. So, the legislature is also trying to do its part too. So I wanna mention that. Anyone else? Yes,
Yeah, I
sir.
apologize. I thought the meeting started at 9:30. There's the notice that I had seen, so I've missed much of your dialogue, and
That's okay.
I apologize if I am covering ground that you've already plowed. Obviously, property taxes have gone up dramatically since 2020, and
Your name, sir?
I'm sorry. My name is Chip Story. I live in Mainville on Heath Court. I've been a Warren County resident for, let's say, 25 years. So I've been a part of this community for a long time. As I said, since 2020, property taxes have increased dramatically. I think we can all probably agree to that for various reasons. Just trying to understand. So what I'm hearing here in the little bit that I have heard is you're planning on rolling back property taxes for 1 year.
We
While
won't be a rollback. We aren't collecting
Okay,
the
eliminating the Warren
inside
County
millage for
piece.
Warren County. That's
Yeah.
correct, for 1 year.
in addition, there's the homestead exemption that's doubled at the state level.
By the state.
I believe for 1 year.
That's correct.
Yeah, so these are very temporary measures that on the tax bill for, say, a $250,000 home, can you estimate what the tax rollback will be on a 100,000 or a million, just to give us a
Commissioner Young,
range?
would you like to take that?
Yeah, that was whatever. So the real numbers, again, as opposed to an opinion, we'll stick with $300,000.
Okay.
That's the kind of average house inside of Warren County. Our auditor testified that that's $270. And for every $10,000 of real cash you spend in Warren County, and we're not talking about mortgages or food, actual discretionary spending that's subject to a sales tax, this 0.5% increase is $50. So if we're not collecting $470, we're charging you $50, net you're $400 ahead.
Yeah, I mean, that obviously will be dependent on how much you spend and, what you got.
Yeah, obviously, if you spend a lot more, you're probably not living in a $300,000 house, so
I don't
your
know.
tax bill.
A lot of people like to go in debt, not me, but,
Us either.
yeah, so wait, the research that I've looked at, it looks like Warren, you don't run deficits. You're not, taking dramatic cuts, a 0.26% cut in budget in a time frame where you know, you've got homeowners that are suffering. I'm fortunately am not one of those, but my kids are. They're living paycheck to paycheck in this county. You know, a 0.26% decrease in your budget is really nothing. I mean, I've run $100 million businesses, and when our revenue was not gonna be as expected to provide what we needed, we sure didn't cut 0.26%. I mean, Mr. Young, I hear you say, yes, we're lean, there's no fat to cut. I've been in those positions. I've run those, you know, companies like that, where, you know, sometimes you have to do structural things that don't increase. Okay, it's gonna be a $50 increase, you know, it's a tax increase.
But I think your assumption's wrong. I've run some pretty big companies myself. We're not hurting for cash. I mean, the residents are by things that are extraneous to us. Our portion is literally $470, and we're saying, we're gonna give it all back to you.
Right. If you're not hurting for cash, why do you need the extra sales tax money?
Well, because it's one-time money, so.
No, but that's not that.
So we
I'm
do
asking,
that.
why do you need it?
Okay.
One time,
But
forever.
I'm telling
I'm
you
sorry.
why. We actually run a government with services that people depend on, so we have to still do all of the things as efficiently and cost effectively as people expect, and we keep our census low, we keep the cost of doing business low, and so I think your point is well taken, that we should always be looking for ways to lower the cost while providing the high quality services, and we do that every year through our budgetary process. In this instance, you know, 4 years ago, we didn't collect the inside millage, and we allowed our reserves to go down, having the same kinds of conversations, enabling us to keep our rate of growth lower than inflation. And so, you know, what we're trying to figure out here is, can we then do that year over year as opposed to, you know, saving the cash and doing it every 4 or 5 years.
Mhm.
So, you know, that's our intention, is using it as a lever to be able to keep the pressure on spending. But, you know, we also don't, you know, we're a creature of the Ohio Revised Code,
Of course.
meaning we still have to provide the services that the state mandates us to provide. And you'll find that unlike a lot of other counties, and that it's certainly their choice, we don't often do things that we're not statutorily required to do. So we don't offer a lot of services, and we rely on nonprofit partners and other organizations to take
I
care
have
of
no
those.
doubt that you are working very hard to keep your overall spend as low as it can be. I would suggest that a sales tax increase, even though it may be offset by property tax reduction, what about the people that don't own homes in this county? It's just a straight increase for them. I don't think when we went to the polls that we were expecting that any of you were gonna support an increase in taxes. As you said, you're conservative in nature. You know, that's the platforms that you ran on. I don't think if you would have come out during your election cycle and said, my plan is I'm gonna raise taxes.
Yeah,
on
I don't
a
think
certain
that's our
segment of
plan.
this
No,
community.
we don't view that we're raising taxes, but if you would have asked me, would you prefer to have lower property taxes and move towards consumption taxes? Yes, I would have certainly said yes to that, because that would be my preference. I hate property taxes, and I think they're confiscatory in a lot of ways. And so I don't think it's inconsistent with that general principle. I also, you know, I like the fact that our sales tax, because of our strong tourism industry, is 60% of which is paid for by people who don't live here. And so that's a trade-off that I think is, you know, one that I'm eager to make. What we're trying to find out is if we can, instead of every 4, 5, 6 years providing some property tax relief, if it's something, well, we technically can't make it permanent because we have to, you know, stand before you and everybody else and say, you know, what percentage of our taxes we're gonna collect, but in effect, make it permanent, and I don't think we know the answer to that. What we do know is in 1 year, it's gonna have a $4 or $5 million offsetting to our budget, so, you know, the budget will be cut by that. But it's something that we're willing to look at. It's certainly a fair point, like, yeah, we don't have to do an increase in the sales tax, and we could also do not collect the inside millage of property taxes, and we've done that before, and we
Well,
can
I
certainly do
believe
that
that,
again.
I'm aligned with you that property taxes are not the proper way to tax the citizenry. I mean, when my house value goes up by $100,000, I haven't gained anything. It's all on paper, but yet my capital gains don't work that way.
That's right.
Why should property taxes work that way? I will come back to your point that you're providing high level of services to the citizens of this county. My question is, you know, what services are you providing that the county could do without? And are there ways to cut? And I know that you've cut, Mr. Young, and I mean, I'm not here, you know, to attack anybody, but I'm here to express that there are people that will be affected by a sales tax increase that will not benefit from a property tax decrease in this county.
Yeah, so I think the question that we have before us is whether or not, and this is why I asked the questions I asked, whether or not our budget and our current reserves are such that we can do what we did 4 years ago.
Right.
Which is, we didn't raise the sales tax,
Yeah.
but we gave a property tax reduction. But we did more than that. We also asked others who receive sales taxes in Warren County to forego their property tax. So we didn't raise the sales tax, but we forewent our inside millage. And we also asked developmental disabilities, which has a separate tax on property, and they forewent theirs, as did a senior citizens levy as well. And they all agreed, they had to agree to this, they all agreed to that, and so we reduced our property tax 4 years ago at a far higher amount, because we had 2 other entities that did it as well. And that was based upon their reserves. In other words, they looked at their reserves as we did,
Right.
and we said, you really don't need to make this collection this year. And of course, in that year too, we were going through this COVID thing, and we wanted to give a break, and we did that. So the question this year, again, which is why I asked the question of what our reserves were, was whether or not we have reserves, and then you have to take what your encumbered funds and what the various different accounts we have, which was presented. I'm not sure if you were here yet or not for that. But the question I'm gonna have when we finish this tonight is whether or not we can give the property tax reduction without having an offsetting sales tax increase, which is what we did 4 years ago.
Right, and again, I think I was walking in as that conversation was taking place. I'm not sure what the answer was on the reserves. How much of a reserve, buffer do you have?
Well, you wanna repeat that, Mark?
We'll have about a 6-month reserve after, we have about $100 million in cash reserves, which is about 12 months. Some of it is earmarked because we carry no debt. We like to pay cash for
Good for
our
you.
improvements and so forth. A lot of this is kind of earmarked for replacement of buildings and those sorts of things. And so we have some 6 to 7 months of reserve, operating reserve. And the auditor last week testified that the Budget Commission, of which he is a member, likes for the political subdivisions to have 6 to 12 months of operating reserve. So that's what they request of the entities that come before the Budget Commission. So we're right at that 12-month mark, but we have money sort of allocated for, we're still a growing county, so we're still requiring some infrastructure and those sorts of things. So we don't have to go into debt.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for being here. Yes, sir.
My name is Jim Redslob. I live at 6809 Midnight Sun Drive in Hamilton Township. I'm 86 years old. I live on Social Security, and I have to tell you that with my Social Security checks monthly and my real estate bill that I get annually, I'm very blessed that I get to cut it in half and pay half of it at a time. The problem is, for a senior citizen, that real estate bill is 1 month of my Social Security check. So now I have 2 bills to pay annually, which each take a monthly Social Security check. I live on 10 months then, what's left. Irregardless of all the tax rates and talk about doing this and doing that, doing this and doing that. I live in a 1,200 square foot house in a subdivision of 100 homes, cookie cutter, none custom made, 25 to 30 years old, the subdivision is. This is an extreme hardship on a senior citizen to have to pay those kind of real estate taxes on fixed income, which is getting worse, inflation getting worse. Where do we get deservedly, hopefully sometime, not a temporary relief, but for senior citizens on Social Security, this is a monumental bill to have to pay. That really is a hardship. I get weekly calls from realtors, love to buy your home. My question is, where in the heck am I gonna go? I can't afford to move. I'm stuck because anything that I might buy is gonna be more. And you showed that the surrounding counties, I can't escape Warren County. I'm hemmed in. It really is a stretch for senior citizens who have worked hard all their life. I'm a widower, so it's not like I've got 2 incomes coming in. I'm stuck in a 1,200 square foot house, which is an average home. Not something that's ostentatious or glorious. I love it, but really getting to be, because of taxes, unaffordable. Thank you.
Thank you for being here today.
I've got 2 comments related to that. Number one, you're my hero. At 86, my goodness, I hope I'm in good a shape as you.
Thank you, I'm blessed I still get carded.
That's awesome. And you are, I mean, I agree with you, and we've talked about that a lot. The problem that you're talking about is a state law issue. You know, we can't fix your problem right now. The legislature potentially could.
But with people like you and some of us, the state legislature has to look at some of us senior citizens, that it is a stress.
100%, I get it. And with certain, I've kind of heard it twice, and I've thought about this a lot, because Warren County, we are blessed that we're a great community, and we like to think the way we help run government and create this environment where it's not us, it's the private sector, it's the citizens, it's the business owners. They create, you know, we just want to foster an environment where they can thrive, and it's worked to where economically we, Warren County, are doing great. So your average house, if we talk in average, a $400,000 house, or we were using 3, let's say $300,000 house that appreciates at 4% a year, because hey, it's in a great school district, hey, everything's going on, everybody wants to live in Warren County. So your $300,000 house appreciates at 4% instead of 1 or 2% in some other counties. Your net worth just went up by $12,000. But if you're on a fixed income and you're never gonna sell your house, you don't care, even though your tax bill might have gone up $500. All you care about is that $500. And I think there's a way the legislature has to address that for the people that are coming in that have a corporate job, and yeah, they paid a little bit more in property taxes, but their house went through the roof in value, so their net worth went up a lot, and they're gonna sell their house and move on to another community, you know, no big deal. But for our senior citizens, it is a big deal. So we've expressed that collectively to our local state senator and our state representatives, that is a very, very big deal to us. And as Commissioner Jones said, we're happy that they doubled that homestead exemption, but I think they can do more.
Is there anybody else who wishes to speak on this? Sir? Yes, come forward.
Forgive my tardiness. I thought I was early. I had the wrong time. My name's James Schrader. I live at 639 Mulford Road. I've lived here since 1988, so I've been here for a while. I didn't get all the details, but I'll at least be a data point for you as a citizen. I appreciate what you guys are doing. I have 4 daughters who live literally all over the world, and Warren County is doing an awesome job of keeping taxes down, but I'm still on that end of the spectrum. If I have a vote, I'm gonna vote for no new taxes or to reduce your taxes, and I understand we'll have to give up services. I've read the Constitution, I know what it says, I know how it trickles down and what you're responsible for, and there's some things people have taken on in the way of representatives that maybe we didn't need to take on, that cost us money. And if we need to cut that, I'm voting that you cut it and let us keep our money and spend it where we see fit. You guys report to us according to our Constitution, and that's my vote. So I know you guys are doing a good job. Like I say, I've got daughters in Cincinnati serving in the military around the world. You guys are doing an amazing job. There's a lot of other systems that are really broken out there, and I'm proud to live in Warren County, but please keep our taxes down.
I appreciate your comments, and I'm grateful for your daughter's service.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak on this?
I went and visited my daughter yesterday, who's in the Navy in Norfolk, stationed there, about to change. So literally, last night, I just got back, so I appreciate your daughter's service.
Well, one is serving in Whiteman for the B2, and the other one's living in my basement and moving tomorrow she just came back from Embassy Cairo, where she and her husband dual career, both in diplomats. Well, and both sons are diplomats. They have 4 black passports. We'll be down teaching at Montgomery, Alabama.
What a great career working with the B2 bomb. Unreal.
And I've been in all those locations, and I'm not stroking you guys. Warren County's doing a lot of things right. Keep up the good work.
We appreciate that. Thank you so much. So if there's no one who wishes to speak on this, you will have another opportunity tonight if you should choose to do that. Adam, do we need to continue the meeting or?
No, you can close this portion of the public hearing.
Okay.
And then it's been noticed that you're having sort of a special meeting tonight on the same topic.
Okay.
But it is the public hearing still, isn't
It
it?
is.
It is, yeah, but I'm saying you're required to have, the law requires you to have 2 public hearings. This is your second one, but there's nothing that says you can't have a third.
So we'll have 3.
Okay, very good, thank you.
So,
Make a motion to close public hearing.
Second.
and yes. And with that, we'll turn it over to Donna Fogarty, who is here with the Warren County Community Services to provide an annual update on their work. Good
And we
morning.
won't be offended if anybody gets up and leaves.
Yeah.
I won't either. You can certainly stay. Good morning.
Good morning.
Again, I'm Donna Fogarty. I am the CEO of Warren County Community Services, and I just want to say thank you for having me here this morning. I appreciate being able to come once a year and just update you on what we do. I think a little bit different this year is that we are celebrating our 60th anniversary. So we have been here for 6 decades in Warren County, and just very proud to serve the county, and wanted to bring that to light. With that, what I've been doing this year in talking with groups in public is just kind of talking about what has poverty look like. We were incorporated to serve the community and serve those who are living with poverty. And so over the decades, you know, it has looked a little bit differently, obviously, each decade. And so you were sent this PowerPoint, and if you want to look through that, it's just very interesting, and I think it's worth it to look at how far we've come as a community and as a service organization. So I'm not going to go through all of that, but poverty certainly did look differently both here in Warren County and across the nation throughout the decades. Today, we are focused mainly on these different domains. We've got early childhood education and childcare. We have our community assistance team, and that's where we provide our emergency assistance, our energy assistance. We have a new nutrition program called Our Table, and we also do mobile outreach. And then a big chunk of our services are for our older adults here in Warren County. We have our senior nutrition, and that includes our home delivered meals as well as our congregate meal sites. We have our care management, we have our senior transportation, and then we have our volunteer programs, and that includes our adult literacy and our retired senior volunteer program, which is an AmeriCorps program. And lastly, but not least, we have a lot of affordable housing, and we're getting ready to have more. So we started new construction on Belmar Trail here in Lebanon, and that's going to be another 44 units for our seniors who need affordable housing. So that's pretty exciting. These are our locations, and then just a little bit more explanation on some of our services. I just read Commissioner Jones, I read your article on talking about Head Start, and I appreciate that support. You've supported our program for many years, and just wanted to point that out, that it is a vital service for our families here in Warren County and across the state and across the nation. And just to point out that over 79% of our parents are working or in school, and that's the way that we are able to serve the whole family in providing that child care as well as the school readiness services for those kiddos. Just gonna go through this. So in 2025, we obviously served another nearly 10,000 households, or 10,000 individuals, excuse me. You can see the numbers there, and I had printed off our ready-to-go impact page and was going to bring it and left it on the printer. So I can send that to Crystal and she can give it to you. But it's a little bit prettier, but it just shows really how many people and households we served last year and all those folks who are getting these great services here. And really our hope is to make sure that, you know, once we serve people, we are able to serve them in a time period to where beyond that they are better off. Obviously, many of our clients are working and living on fixed incomes. So sometimes there's not going to be a time when they are really off of our services until, unfortunately, they leave the earth. You know, it's really our privilege to be able to serve our seniors who are living on fixed incomes and be able to help with their nutrition, be able to help get them to their medical appointments and other appointments that are necessary for them to live. A lot of times, and I know you've heard this before, our home delivered meal drivers are the only person they see that day, or maybe our transportation person is the only person who has a conversation with them while they take them to the doctor. So, you know, that's a very vital service that really, we're not ending that service with them. And so it's really those folks who are younger that we hope to work with on a limited amount of time, and then they leave us in a better position, a more financially secure position. So we did a little bit of changing in our strategic plan this year, and I just wanted to share that as well. We had our strategic plan that we developed late in '22, and it was supposed to end in '25, and at the end of '25, well, maybe in the fall of '25, we met with our board of directors, our senior leadership, and we decided that there's still a lot more work to do on this plan. As well as we were really facing last year, you'll see when our annual report comes out, a lot of funding uncertainty last year. Most of our funding is federal and state funding. We get quite a bit of local funding as well. We want to be good stewards of that funding, but everything was kind of up in the air a lot of up and down last year. A lot of threats to our Head Start funding, to our CSBG funding. So we decided not to make a whole new plan, and we decided to really refocus some of our efforts on what we had in our current plan. And so we've extended it through this year. What was once really increasing public awareness, and not that we don't need to continue to do that, is it's now increasing our community engagement and development. We really want to be looking for more development opportunities, more engagement opportunities with the local community. Of course, we're still trying to attain and maintain that operational excellence. I know when I started 4.5 years ago, there's a lot of work to do internally. We have made incredible strides as an organization. We have almost 200 employees, and we are operating very effectively and efficiently, but we still have some steps to make in making sure that we are operating in an excellent manner. And we want to build a bank of unrestricted funding. Like you just heard me say, federal and state and sometimes local funding is a bit uncertain, and so we want to really make sure that we start building our reserves, start building up our bank so that we can make some decisions. It's not all funders' decisions. If we see a need we want to fill, we can have the resources to do that. As well as we want to be able to make sure that, you know, if some of our funding went in today, we're able to still continue to pay our employees and continue to provide those services at least for a period of time. And this just kind of goes into a little bit more detail about our strategic priorities. We won't go through that. But here today, I just want to ask for your continued support. You do support our TIP teacher position. We work closely with Job and Family Services. What's happening at the state level is most of our federal to state funding currently goes through the Department of Development starting July 1, which is just next week. We are actually going to transition, and we have been working on that transition. All the community action agencies and our federal to state funding is transitioning to Job and Family Services there at the state. So that really just gives us an opportunity to really work more closely with our local Job and Family Services as a community action agency. So I'm asking for your support if there's ever any opportunities for us to do that. Obviously, we want to let the public know they can donate or give financially at any time. We always have volunteer positions open, and we can always, you know, actually benefit from your advocacy when there's times that maybe some of our funding is at danger, or maybe there is a need that we are not able to fill. It always takes the community to help us advocate for that. And providing that platform for raising public awareness, just being able to come and talk to you, that's one thing. That's one way that we're able to do that, so I appreciate that. And attend our fundraising events. So since I've started, we have not held any fundraising events. We have not really felt the need to. When I started in 22, we were all still kind of coming out of the pandemic and really kind of recalibrating. What we have found this last year, is that we are in incredible need of a therapeutic interagency preschool bus. And so with our 60th anniversary and with this big need, we are having a fundraising event in September. And I don't know if you have anything printed off that you want to share.
I do, it's in my car, I can grab them.
No, that's okay. We've got it. We can send it out. We've got to save the date. But our 60th anniversary luncheon is September 23rd. It's going to be short and sweet from 11 to 1 at Miami Valley Gaming Center, at their event center. And the funds, any funds that we earn from that is going to go to help raise money for our tip bus. And so this is an incredible need of ours. We have quite a bit of data that shows that many of our children do not get to school. They do not get that school age readiness education that they need when they don't have transportation. And those are our therapeutic interagency preschool kiddos who are affected by trauma in their household. And so that is such a need for us that I think nearly 80% do not get to school if we don't have that reliable transportation. And the current bus is, I mean, really on its last wheels, and it has been for a while. So with breakdowns and with weather, we just weren't able to get the kiddos to school when they needed to be a lot of times this last year. So just to focus on that for our 60th anniversary luncheon, and I appreciate your time, and didn't know if you had any questions.
Thank you.
Any questions? Well, I'd love to have information on your event in September when it's available. That would be great. I appreciate the work you're doing. Do you know, I'm not trying to put you on the spot.
It's okay.
How many seniors you serve in the Meals on Wheels program in the county?
Yes. Well, yes. Yes and no. Our care management team are actually the ones who provide that referral to our home delivered meals program. And last year they served,
I saw how many meals were delivered. I didn't.
lots of meals. There's usually about 375 to 380,000. Last year was 372,000 meals were delivered. And I think we served, it was almost 2,700 homebound elderly individuals who received those meals.
Great. 2,700, you said?
Yes.
Terrific. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Great. Thanks for
Thank you.
being here.
Of course. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay, before I take a motion to go into executive session, is there anybody else here who wishes to address the board? Seeing none, I will entertain
Can
a
I
motion.
ask a question? So
Sure.
what is the status of posting the economic development director position? It's been weeks.
Well, I think we need to talk about that. Happy to do that. We can put that on the agenda for next week.
Okay.
That is also subject matter you could discuss in executive session.
Okay.
I have a couple things I wanted to ask.
All right, I'll make a motion to go
Okay,
into.
I'm sorry, Dave, or Commissioner. Martin, you have some things to add?
There was just a couple questions that I wanted to sit there and see relative to the board. There was a time when we were going to have a second meeting with the Ag Society relative to information that was gonna sit there and be gathered. Now that we have that information, do we wanna work with the clerk to have the Ag Society come back in and let them know when that might be? Or, I mean, we can bring it up again next week or something maybe to think about. I'll ask again next week.
I mean, I think the board needs to decide what it is that we want to do with the fairground property. But that's my, I don't know, given where we are, I don't know if we're ready to have that conversation or not. I mean,
I have an opinion about it already.
I'm happy to put that conversation on the agenda at any time you guys want, obviously. We've tossed around a bunch of ideas around it, and while I appreciate the response to the questions that I raised that were, came out of the earlier meetings we had, I mean, I have just a lot of concerns still about the long-term kind of financial health of the agricultural society. And again, it's not because of any individual person at the agricultural society. I think that there's, we've got to figure out, what it is that we want, to do here. I think we need a conversation about that. We can't just continue to do the things that we've always done because we've always done them. And I'm not interested in putting more money into the fair when, there isn't clarity around the enterprises within that are under the operation of the Ag Society. So,
Do we need more information about the financial position of the Ag Society, what their revenue stream is, what their expenses are? I know that we received some data from the harness racing people, and they're marginally positive. I think they make, I don't know, for the fair, there's like a couple, $2,000 or $3,000 to the plus on that when you take any revenue that they give the fairgrounds, and then when you take a look at the expenses there are. Did I misunderstand that? But there's much more to the fair than just the harness racing and the horsemen.
Right.
We should get a full accounting.
yes, I have requested that by enterprise within there so that we can, as well as they can, understand what the costs are associated with the different things that they do, that they utilize the public asset for. And, I'm not trying to beat up anybody, but the response was not substantive about it, which leads me to believe, I don't think they really understand what the costs, the expenses and revenues are by business enterprise. And so I don't want to keep asking them for something that they don't have.
Well, they do have it. I'm
Well,
sure they have it.
I'd love to see that.
Okay,
So-
well, let's get that.
So, but I will put you in charge of tracking down
I
that
will do that.
information, because I clearly in the letter asked for it and it was not responded to.
Well, I've met with them, I've gone to the event center where they have their offices and met with them, and I will do that again. And I went on I don't think they've had the electrical inspection, but they had a fire inspection. And I went on that tour, Martin was on the tour, it took us, I don't know, 2.5 hours. And for the most part, what they disclosed was not, to me, it was not very significant. Oh yeah, there was some painting that needed to be done. There were some buildings that, I think they had to sprinkle a building if they're gonna have more than 90 people in one of the buildings. There were a variety of different things, but none of it was insurmountable in my opinion. All of it was relatively minor, but I haven't seen the electrical inspection because they postponed it. They were gonna have it the same day, but they postponed it. Martin, have they rescheduled that?
If you give me a second, I did ask, I believe I got a text, but I believe
and
it's at the end of the month.
Important that we have all of those things, like that, people need to know that that's safe and that they're following the law. So I appreciate that and we should get that.
But you want a full financial
But
picture.
this is way bigger than that. And so, everything from the horse boarding, which has now gone on over 1.5 years since Scott brought up, the event center, the other, look, what I want to understand is taxpayer dollars have gone to support this effort. We need to understand if it's being managed in a way that's actually additive to the fair. And if there is if there's some alternative to be able to do what we intended, which is to have, revenue generation, or at least say, we don't care if this makes revenue, which, certainly wasn't what I agreed to, but, nonetheless, I think we need to understand that.
I will take the responsibility to go directly to them to get information that's needed.
Well, and I'd appreciate if you use my letter as the types of questions that
I'll do
I'm interested in. And I think that, what I want to figure out, and I've asked the prosecutor's office to help me ask ascertain what kind of options are available to us to be able to, I mean, I'm unified behind the common purpose of being able to have a county fair, junior fair, and support the 4-H. At the same time, you know, we continue to be asked to provide more resources, and you know, I'm not sure. And Commissioner, you should know that your friends now are weighing in with, at least me, I don't know, Commissioner Young gets it, but I get a lot of email now from people who are sharing all kinds of information, pro and against what's happening there. So I don't know what the facts are, but I think having the answers to the questions matters, because I'm not interested in supporting more money than we're legally required to support for the fair until those questions are answered. And I appreciate it's a new board, and I appreciate that, you know, it's a new day and all those things, but that's just not, you know, we can't allow that to be an excuse in perpetuity.
Well, what we've
We need
discovered-
accountability.
Sure, and I will endeavor to get that, and I've met with them, I know many of them, as you know many of them as well, on the Ag Society Board, and they have had turnover and have new leadership. And I will take the lead to get that information and provide that to you, and I'll look at your letter again, I've read it, of course. And I've read the most recent information that's been provided as well, but I'm happy to take the lead on that. And a large part of what's going on there is a horse boarding operation, which is the business that I'm currently in on 2 different farms in Hamilton County. And I'm very familiar with that. And so that's a personal interest to me, and I'm very familiar with how those operations typically work. So I'm happy to get that information. I will meet with them and talk to them, and I'll take another look at your letter and find out what else needs to be provided.
Well, I played a little bit of hardball last week with the liquor license, honestly, because I was having flashbacks to the last 20 years of dealing with the Ag Society, where we ask for things and they don't produce it. So they're asking us for something, we had asked them for something, they were supposed to produce it, they didn't. So we're gonna say no until we get what we want. Obviously, that's not exactly up to your standard, but again, I'm trying to give deference to a new board that seems very motivated and very interested in trying to change the direction. But, you know, I said it publicly, what, a dozen years ago, they don't have a sustainable business model there. It's a failing business model. They keep doing things the way they've always done it, which I have no interest in helping to support if it's gonna be the same old story. The new board seems to be wanting to have a new direction, which is why I think we extended a little bit of grace and time and do this, but then they didn't start off well by ignoring your letter, so.
Well, and I guess it's like, I really appreciate that in part the response is this is a volunteer board and we're busy getting ready for the fair, and I believe that to be the case. What I'm questioning then is, with a volunteer board, does it even make sense to expect that a volunteer board can manage things like an event center or a stabling operation, or why we should be into those businesses to begin with? And so I think there are larger questions here that are, you know, in need of consideration. So Commissioner Grossman, I appreciate your willingness to see if we can get some more clarity on that. And look, I voted to approve the permit because I have no interest in disrupting this year's fair. But it seems to me that we want to not find ourselves in the same position a year from now where we're asking the same questions. You know, this is the time for us to have the conversation, get through the fair this year, but then to have the conversation so we have a full year before the next fair. So whatever that looks like from our standpoint, I mean, you know, they're their own entity. They can make their own decisions. But we own, you know, a lot of the asset. And so I think we've got some discussion ahead of us, and I'm, you know, hoping to do that with as much time leading up to the next fair as possible.
Sure, and I appreciate all of that. And by the way, they're under audit again. We've got the previous audit that came out, what was it, in February or March? I can't recall now, it was around February and March. And what we discovered was that this was not the huge problem. I mean, yeah, so what did they find? I'm gonna give rough numbers. The previous audit found that there were about $500, something like that, of money that had been reimbursed to certain members of the Ag Society Board for which there were no invoices. So they didn't have it documented. It wasn't that there was graft, it was that there was not documentation for like $500. Then the other two items that they discovered was that there were credit card bills that were paid late and had late fees and interest charges, and there were also utility type bills that were paid late that had the same thing, that amounted to like $20,000 over, what, a 4-year period. None of this was the horror story that could have been, and that was actually, we feared. It was far less, for me at least, I was not overwhelmed by it. Obviously, we don't want them to miss their bills. We want them to pay their credit card bills on time. We want them to pay their utility bills on time. And we've been told when they came last time that they were doing that. But I will endeavor, but I think we are entitled to get a full financial report from them, full understanding of all their expenses. And obviously in October of 2024, there's an announcement by the then current board of the Ag Society that the horsemen had to leave by December 1 of 2024. We then held a meeting in November 2024 and asked about that. We found out a lot, and of course, that is a topic that I'm familiar with, horse boarding. And it seemed like they were like $50,000 in arrears of not collecting horse boarding, which was remarkable to me. And we had the head of the Ag Society come in, and there was no really good explanation for any of this as to why they weren't collecting, but they weren't. And then there was the manure charges, which seemed quite large to me, and I'm very familiar with this business. My family has had the largest horse boarding operation in southwestern Ohio, private. We've had like 70 horses on 2 different farms, and I still operate both those boarding operations, so I'm pretty familiar with how you run horse boarding, and most of my life was dealing with manure. I'm
in politics, me too.
Yeah, I know, but that's a different context of manure. But in any event, I actually shoveled manure, delivered manure, sold manure to farmers and to gardeners.
To go back to Commissioner Jones's point, I agree. I wasn't concerned about the audit. There are systemic things. We spent millions of dollars to build an event center. We had a deal with the Ag Society to get a percentage of the revenue, and I don't think we've seen $1.
All right, so I'm going to get into all of that. Commissioner Young, I will do that.
That's the type of stuff I want to talk about.
And I'll just ask to make sure that the clerk shares with Commissioner Grossman at least all of the emails that I receive from folks that are providing their information or opinion about things, just so he has that context as well.
Thank you.
Okay, so now I will entertain a motion to go into executive sessions.
I'll make a motion to go into executive session on 2 matters: to conference with our attorneys concerning a dispute of a pending court action pursuant to ORC 122 or 121.22G3, and then immediately after to go into executive session to consider employment, dismissal, discipline, demotion, compensation, or investigation of complaints against public employees pursuant to ORC 121.22G1.
And Commissioner Young, would you be open to adding to your, if I'm able to, Bruce, to discuss our Economic Development Director position?
The G1 motion covered that.
Okay, great. Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Grossman?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Great, thank you.